Okay, so before we start, my voice may sound a little different with some sneezing or coughing here or there, or maybe some sniffling. I'll try to edit those out if I can. But yeah, I'm recovering right now. I feel like I'm almost better, so maybe the next time you hear me doing these reviews, or maybe a different episode on or a different video on the channel, maybe I'll feel a bit better. Hopefully. But yeah, currently right now, this episode, as much as I want to talk about it, I'll have to keep it short just to save my voice a bit because it's a bit sore and raspy, kind of. But yeah, there is still a lot of things I want to talk about, kind of, because not only we have some interesting lore bits on some of the secondary characters that we never heard of, but technically hints of, but never really heard of exactly. The main thing about this episode is therapy and how therapy sessions go and how it is different for other people. And yeah, I feel like it is pretty interesting, and Disney is actually doing a interesting thing here. We start with the scene with the train basically being out of control. The girl here, Alec, could be saying her name wrong, but that's how I heard the characters saying her name is. She basically is in the train. I think she's going home, but then something happened to the train. But then Zoe, as Vespera, basically did a Spider-Man 2 thing, from the Raimi trilogy. Yeah, just kind of did the train scene from the one Spider-Man movie, try to stop it. Well, not exactly. She did use Venom to paralyze the train, which it did work, but the brakes are not really working, so at least it's not accelerating anymore. But she tries to pull the train backwards with a bit of success. Unfortunately, this front car basically is on the tip side, and they basically fell on the window broke, and Ladybug saved her. Ladybug basically did catch her, right? But her reaction to her is like, just don't touch me, let me go. Ladybug did drop her down, and then Alec just kind of ran off, crying, and Ladybug's like, what did I do wrong? Because all she did was just save her. Now, we'll get to know sooner or later, and it's a bit extreme, but then again, given what Alec has gone through and what we've been told in this episode, might be reasonable. So we start off at the school in the garden, and it does seem like she has a fear of ladybugs, but it goes a bit more than that. She has a fear of mostly insects. She used to like all insects, but all changed, right? All changed when the butterflies appeared, and she used to really love butterflies, but ever since she got acclimatized, things gone south from there. And it's not just butterflies. Butterflies for a long time, but ever since like the villain was stopped, the original Hawkmoth was stopped, she actually went back to basically like school, and she used to be very, very out there, eccentric, right? And not eccentric. She's used to be a person who's like really talkative, very social. I forgot the term for those types of people. But ever since she stopped going to school and basically at home for the most part, she became an introvert. So she has a hard time actually to connect with other people now. And because of this, it's harder and harder, and then it's kind of hard for her to go and treat the outside world a bit normally. And after that, she got acclimatized because of people basically making fun of her, especially since the butterflies do remind her of Hawkmoth and how people are getting acclimatized. She's very afraid of doing that. So that's kind of one of the reasons why she actually has to be locked up inside. This unfortunately gone through a bit more, and this indirectly go to Ladybug as well, because Ladybug was basically a part of that. She did save her, but unfortunately with her PTSD, and this is the thing, I'm no expert, but I do have some research behind all this because of some school stuff. So with PTSD specifically, even if the positives is what they would help you, sometimes with PTSD, the positives can actually turn into negatives and become a negative light if the negativity is a bit too strong, which is, what PTSD is in a way. So with that, she's afraid of butterflies, and she's afraid of all insects, but it's mostly butterflies and Ladybug, because those two are usually the ones ever since the new villain came around and acclimatized her. And trust me, when we see later in the episode, she has a good villain design, honestly. But yeah, it's very understandable, and she never got over the fear. And in fact, it got worse with Ladybug and Alia trying to figure out what they could do to help her. And the solution? Well, they will try to help her as she can by facing her fears, one step at a time. The next day, they were eating outside, but some dragonflies and flies were swarming around her, and she kind of dipped out pretty quickly. Yeah, now they eat inside, and she apologized to all of them, but she knows that her fear is only getting worse and worse right now. And to this point, and considering how she acted in like her first appearance, I feel like she might be just one of those like depressed characters, possibly. I don't know exactly, but I will maybe she may be a depressed character if this is the case. Not to mention, well, makes also sense because she locked herself up for a very long time and just now started to actually go back to school. So yeah. But after all this talk, and well, Marinette just like, what about I can make you a anti-bug suit, but like, and now he's like, or she can seek therapy. Now here's some interesting stuff. Basically, first off, let's talk about the one we already know, Milan. Milan has a lot of phobias, and it's been stated throughout, like at least throughout the other seasons. But early seasons, we kind of do know about that already. But it's a good thing that we have some like reminder that she does have all these phobias, but she actually got over almost all of them, not with just her friends, but also with the therapist. They all share this, or some of these people do share the same therapist. Julica actually is now more talkative, not only for the help of her friends, but the reason why she's more social and more talkative with the others right now, especially since she doesn't exactly mumble, is because of the same therapist. Basically got over her fear of actually talking, that she cannot communicate. Yeah, like a stretch in some other character who has a hard time speaking in an anime. But yeah. And also Max. Now Max is interesting, and I have not actually know about this, but actually the signs were technically there. Max is autistic. Yeah, Max has autism, and to be honest, I should have seen it coming. He was a bit more different than some of the other people. And he tells us the difficulties of being an autistic person. Basically, that his brain works a bit differently from others. And while it's good that people are actually treating him like an equal, it is to his notice that he does try to adapt, and he does good way of adapting, especially. But since he is basically the smarter of the people, the smarter one in his friend group, kind of hard to actually have anyone to basically relate to his like discoveries and stuff like that, or his interests. Not to mention daily life for him is also pretty hectic. Like, don't know where to go, running late, or even not being there to have food basically gives him just that much stress to actually fit in with other people. Luckily he does adapt to how he does, and that's actually good. Now, frankly, I cannot really talk too deep into this or think that I know everything about it, because I don't think I'm autistic. At least I'm not diagnosed with it. But I do know some people who are, and I feel like this is at least one good example. The same though, some of my friends that I had who were autistic told me something similar like this. So yeah, I completely understand. And to be honest, I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like I will get some flack over it. But yeah, I feel like Disney does a good job, at least telling us like how the mind works for these types of people. But yeah. But this is just like the baseline thing. It's technically how one autistic person deals with and each person experience it differently. I feel like this is true. And basically Max visits a therapist as well, just to see how he can actually deal with this, right? Just like some steps to like not really fit in, but just adapt and still be himself, which is good. Well, Alec doesn't exactly understand fully, as I don't think she actually understand where the others are coming from, but considering that people say that therapy is pretty decent and could help her, she gives it a try. After being in the weight room with her friends, the therapist basically calls her up for a visit. And basically, it's very common. Most therapists in their rooms would be more like this and not like a big desk like counseling, right? Now, it's the reason why she has all these cars here, or vehicles, basically anything. There's a bike, but there's also a scene where there's a plane and a train, right? But I don't exactly have that screenshot here. She told her that she can choose one, make it as a vehicle to just start the healing process. So we get to know a bit more about how Alec was feeling with this fear that she has. And it's just go a little more deeper and deeper. Now her parents basically told the therapist about some stuff, but the therapist, wants the person to tell them how they feel, because hearing it from another person is one thing, but therapists can only help you, and that's mostly for some doctors and therapists and anyone in general can only help you if you say it yourself. If you say that there is a problem to them, makes it easier so they can actually try to connect with you and help you in a certain way that actually start the healing process. Now, an outside person telling your problems to a therapist or a doctor is one step, but they really want to hear from you. It could just be it could be more severe than they say or less severe than they say, if that makes sense. And I feel like it's very typical for anybody in not maybe in the medical scene, but also just getting your feelings out in general. I feel like that's actually pretty good. So we have a flashback thing, and I already said to you mostly how she gone through. She's just basically a flashback of her first day going back to school, and she has a hard time, being with others because she's been away for such a long time, locked inside because of Hawkmoth and the fear of being traumatized. And then it all started downhill with the butterfly exhibit. And I think you guys know what's coming from here, so I won't really delve in too much, because the fear of butterflies is what her starts, then the villain arc, yada yada yada. She got saved, but then the PTSD kind of kicked in, and now we're here. I know it's summarized and it's not a very good explanation onto her PTSD, but I'm going to keep it short and I don't want to get too much into it. First, like I said, I'm sick a little bit right now. I know I'm recovering, but I don't want to give out my voice. And yeah, but that's kind of why I would like people to actually watch the episode just to see. Also, yeah, this is also in English, so I was lucky to actually watch this in English. So that's good. That's kind of about it. We cut back to basically present time, and Adrian was thinking of actually doing this therapy as well, talking about, his father. Marinette is being a little too protective, and I kind of forgot. Marinette is much scared, and she thinks that Adrian might actually get to the truth about his father, maybe. But of course, Aya talks down to this, as Marinette is able to help Adrian, but if Adrian needs specific healing or understanding, a therapist might be the better choice. And Aya actually explains this in a good way, comparing from companion help and therapist help, basically. Aya basically explains it in video game terms. Adrian, say, has a fear of ghosts, right? And he's trying to get away from the ghosts. Marinette could help him, but it's only temporarily. In this case, Adrian's afraid of ghosts. Marinette will kill the ghost, but the ghost keeps appearing. Adrian doesn't know why he's running or he has a fear of ghosts. So at that point, he still is in like a state of confusion and doesn't know what's going on. While Marinette's just trying to slow down the problem. While it is a healing process, a friend who basically helps you get rid of a certain like problem just is only temporary as it's not fully healed, as Adrian needs something else. But that's where the therapist comes in. While basically Marinette and the help of supporting of the friend will basically help. So like Marinette will basically always be there to help Adrian, basically trying to suppress those stuff, but not in a way that's too harming. But Adrian would not be able to figure it out himself. The therapist will basically will put out an exit so they can be outside of that inner like turmoil. Basically, the therapist will actually help Adrian deal and heal with his fear. So in this case, in the video game, Adrian, remember, afraid of ghosts. But the therapist will basically help him get over that fear by asking the question, why is he actually afraid? And go deeper from there. And to a point of like, so what is your main fear? Like, it's basically like that simple questions. Now, I'm not really good at these therapy explaining stuff verbally, but I do understand how it actually works, and it's basically a very good healing process, meaning that it does take time, and until then, Adrian will get better depending on how the process is. And in that case, Adrian will basically be healed by the therapist because sharing the problem and facing it together is something. Now that sounds like you can do that with a friend, but the thing is, with a friend, they have some type of bias where a friend will be there to help you, but they will deal with the problem with themselves, protecting you from it. The therapist will will let you be exposed to that, but they will be with you. It will be exposure for the two of you, not just the one of you. If the therapist compared to friend, if that makes sense. And that's the only best way I could explain it with the time that I have with my voice. We cut back to Alec. Progress has been technically good, and she spilled out more than she ever did to her friends, and it's actually a pretty good step. But the big problem is this. The therapists say that they will get ready for the next session. Because remember, therapy is a job for most people, and while they would really love to help, no therapy session can be solved in just one day. Very, very rare if that ever happens. If it does happen, that's good. But it's super rare, and it's impossible. It usually is impossible. It needs to have like multiple sessions to get to the root of the cause as much as they can. The reason why it cannot just be like one whole day is because first, it's a job. There's other people waiting, right? Appointments and stuff. But the second is, if you basically tackle it through one whole day, there is a possibility that the next day relapse. So in a way, micro exposure. And for a lot of cases, it does work. But unfortunately, Alec seems to be in a much more depressed state than I thought she is, because she actually did lash out, thinking that she can be cured in one whole day, thinking that therapy is like magic. Listen, she's a teenager and all, but like, I feel like even more reasonable people would not think like this, and she is a teenager, so I feel like this would be more for like a little kid or something. But it's a bit weird, but then again, people's minds are different from each other, so it could just be a difference, and maybe there is somebody who is like this. So I completely understand where Alec is coming from, but Maybe her friends did not explain very well about therapy and the process of it. Oh yeah, so the reason why this all really happened is technically the three bullies, right? The three new bullies. They kind of put her into this downward spiral of her phobia of insects and bugs. Yeah, it makes sense. They promised that they would go with her into the Bluffiotorium, but then they locked her in there. Yeah, not a good sign. They just want to see her screaming in fear. I also forgot that while the PTSD was one thing, there's also one other thing, a deeper emotion that she is afraid of being forgotten. This is a screenshot. This is a picture somebody took of her last moments in reality because of Time Breaker. Time Breaker, if you don't remember, is the kumatized version of Alex from season 1. This is a picture way before that. And what's interesting about this, and I was keep it here, while Ladybug did fix everything for this one, this cements a fear to her, that even with the fear or anything, she feels that she's afraid being erased from time itself. Being erased in time is also a metaphor that would anybody remember her? Will her parents remember her? Anything. Basically all that fear that's just in there. And yet when Ladybug fixes everything reverts back to normal. The mental state, the memories of that moment. Just imagine you were being erased from time, and your last moments is being in an existential crisis. Will anybody remember you? And then you come back, and things are hunky dory, but yet that memory still haunts you because you felt that you were out of existence for just a tiny bit, and then you pop back up like nothing happened. Sure, people were worried about you, but they would never understand that existential dread of just being one day just snap, poof, gone with the wind, being forgotten possibly. Very deep stuff, and to be honest, very understandable, right? And it's just very heavy. Yeah, I didn't think like Miraculous would go this deep, but damn, you know, no wonder she's depressed. But yeah, that will be a topic for the next session, since because they seem to be in a breakthrough already. So this is basically mini exposure. But again, like I said, she's upset that it's not a full day. But as the therapist told her, it's not a magical fix and all that stuff. But she thinks that it would be a sort of magical fix because just like Ladybug, it would just be like a one-time thing and things would be normal for her. She can go back to living normally after that. And sadly, that's not the case. It's a good thing that there's a good thing that shows right now out there, including like cartoons, anime, even some movies, even some books, right? While there is a fantasy element, the real stakes of mental health is still normal. At the end of the day, these characters are in a way still people with people behavior and human emotions and stuff like that. So having them being a more realistic, more down to earth is a way to make people connect. I do think there are some people who, just like Alike, are afraid of being forgotten and of course have PTSD with some bad memories or events, or even just or just like a phobia of insects. Very understandable. I don't blame her. After all this, the new Hawkmoth, you know the drill, comes in. But the thing is that she is smart enough not to. However, new Hawkmoth did actually try to relate to her a bit more, giving her more of a sweet deal, just kind of using her own desires against her. If just convincing them normally, just like the old Hawkmoth, didn't work, then it's time for the manipulative, getting into the purse, getting into their heads, using their own wants and beliefs, or just wishes in general, just to help them. Now, we'll get to it a bit more, but it does unfortunately work. Now, naming the villain Reckless Driver. Reason why? There's a toy taxi car that got destroyed in a wreck. Clever. After filing Alika outside, her friends are telling her that it's kind of normal for therapy sessions to be like this. Could have said that much more earlier to avoid all this, you know? But the akumatized villain is out and is chasing after Alika. I would like to say that this is if you're a fan of Speed Racer, this might be the episode for you, because there are a lot of Speed Racer references. It's a very old anime, I know, but it's really surreal just to see a reference to that anime right now. After capturing Alika, seeing what her phobia is, she sees it, and then she uses a device that actually takes out the phobia or their fear. After launching her in the air and Ladybug catching her, Alika has a different demeanor, as if she's not afraid of bugs anymore. This is why she actually can talk to Ladybug freely. However, she acts in a very concerning way, as it does seem like her movement is basically carefree, too carefree. Like, if something bad happens to them, they're not really going to, think of the bad things about it, because they have no fear. So, what the villain really did, is not only they removed their main fear, they removed fear in general. Same for this guy. Apparently this guy is afraid of cars. Now, he's not afraid of cars, and he wants to basically sunbathe on the street. And of course, Cap Noir was there. It's like, hey, this is dangerous. It's like, and the people have eyes, they can turn away to not hit me. To be honest, I feel like this person deserves to be run over, if this is the case. It's Sonic Racing all around the world. Ladybug did caught up with Reckless Driver, but it's kind of no use, as the car has a lot of precautions, especially slippery windows and outlines. And she's driving very fast, but she has all these gadgets that just gone over every single obstacle they have. And even destroying the ground with a fucking earthquake thanks to Purple Tigress, it's not even enough. Oh, did I mention there's about 5 heroes here helping out. They weren't called, they were just there. Sadly, we saw all that off screen. MiraculousLadybug gives her a sandwich. This sandwich is only used for one thing, and it's a very niche thing you'll see later. While the car is underwater, because now it's stalled on the water since it cannot move, she unfortunately captured Cat Noir, who was trying to cataclysm the car. But yeah, Cat Noir's fear is revealing his secret identity, and she took out the fear out of him. Now, he can now be expressed to share the world about his true identity. Just saying it out loud, not even de-transforming. While she does this, the new Hawkmoth told her to take the cat's Miraculous. She, the villain, the comatized villain, the therapist, doesn't like the idea. The reason why is because she just wants to help people. Doing this, just like invasion of privacy, is too far for her. Makes sense. She's a therapist. She should know about this, right? But of course, the new Hawkmoth's like, if you take his ring and then the Ladybug's Miraculous, then you can make a wish, and then you can wish for everybody to not fear anything anymore. And that's enough to convince her. Listen, you need a little bit of that kitty, belief, right? Okay, yeah. She Ladybug's on top of Cat Noir. She got here because thanks to Max's portal, and yeah, Cat Noir was about to reveal his secret identity to those two people, and Ladybug put a sandwich in his mouth. That's what the Lucky Charm is used for. Yeah, we do have a brief skirmish in the car with Multi-Mouse coming in with the support. If you guys seen this as the thumbnail, this is much more suggestive. We're just looking Cat Noir's fucking After destroying the car and Purple Tigress displacing all the water as rain with a single punch, they noticed that the Kuma did not appear and the therapist did not turn back to normal. So it must be something inside the car, and Ladybug saw the toy taxi. She did stomp on it and everything turned back to normal, right? Hunky-dory as it is. Ladybug does give her speech to the therapist, just reassuring that what the therapist is doing is a good effort on her part. And of course, while it might not be the same way and it won't be fixed like instantly just like hers, what Ladybug fixes is basically the physical, right? That's what she does. In terms of what happens deep down inside, that's what the therapist excels at. While I did summarize that whole speech, I feel like that's a good message basically. That while things on the outside can be healed in just a couple of days or even like some hours in terms of like, in this universe, in terms of what goes on mentally, that sometimes takes a bit longer and does require a different type of specialist to deal with that. I feel like that's a good message to end on. And then at the end, Alika does try this one more time. Yeah, it doesn't exactly work all that well as she only took one step and she wants to, back out. But hey, baby steps. I feel like Alika is gonna be more shy. Maybe a bit annoying, but hopefully they written her good in the future, like in this episode, so like she won't be too annoying. Before the credits end, Adrian is in the therapy session, ready to talk with the therapist about his father. And what will be in store for Adrian? We won't know. So hopefully in the next few episodes, we'll see how his therapy session goes. Overall, I really do like this episode. While not my personal favorite, I do think that the representation of possible PTSD and hints of the notion in PTSD, how it's been represented here, I think is decent. And of course, hinting on that Alika might be depressed. The hints are there, which I think is represented pretty good, not too exaggerated. The only thing that was super exaggerated was the phobia of insects. So that's one thing, but I think that's fine. Oh yeah, Alia did go to therapy. It was family therapy, but to her, it was resolved such a long time ago. To her, what she believed, she doesn't have anything to fear. Unfortunately, her family is still falling apart. I think she is in denial. With the heavy topics and stuff like that, and to be honest, while I can talk about it, it's not exactly my place to actually say anything about it. But how this episode represents and how the Disney writing team actually handled this, I think it's actually pretty good. Overall, I think this is a 9 out of 10. It's not one of my favorites. I don't think it's even hitting the top 10 for me, but I give it a 9 out of 10 just because of how it actually portrays its themes here, and I do like it. Are there flaws? Well, certainly. I think they did a good job. Apparently, I'd gone a bit more longer than I thought it would. I guess my feelings for this episode did took a bit more time than I realized. But yeah, that's the end of this episode video for the review. My name is Sampo. I'll see you guys next time. I think the next few episodes, well, they're still in French or Portuguese, so I cannot really watch them yet. I might wait till the English dub comes out. But apparently, episode 14 came out just today, and yeah, it seems like it's going to be a lore-heavy episode, so hopefully I'll feel better to actually talk about it more. I'll stop right now, and yeah, I might have to cut some of this stuff, possibly, or shrink it down. Yeah.